Welcome. Thank you all for coming back. My name is Jessica Blauert. I am the Assistant Manager for the Oregon Wine Growers Association. So I would like to introduce our next session, Moving the Needle on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. But before we get started, I would like to introduce this session's sponsor, Chris Wright and FedEx Shipping. Chris, come on up.
Thank you. So, yeah, we have a booth over on 244. We have been a partner with OWA for 7 years. Service wineries across Oregon, McMinnville, Dayton, Portland. And so if you guys, or if any wineries have shipping needs, please come see our booth. We have cold chain programs for the summer. And yeah, love to talk with you. Thank you.
Now allow me to introduce our panel. Starting with Channing Frye, Jacob Gray, Sophia Torres-McKay, Taquette Bramlett, and Ikemi Dubois.
Hi guys, so I am Taquette. He's gonna move the podium real quick. Hello. So I'm currently the president of Vidon Vineyard and also the founder of Our Legacy Harvested. And I founded Our Legacy Harvested in 2020, and part of what spawned that was actually my family. So my grandfather was the first black general contractor in the state of California. One big thing for him was establishing community and always giving people an opportunity and giving that fair chance and really fostering that education. So witnessing that, I would always ask him why he was working with certain folks and why he was always giving this extra time, because it was a lot of time away from family. And the response was always, this is our legacy harvested, and it was always an extension of our family. That was always something that resonated with me, and it was something that always stuck with me. So when I got into my career and started finding my path, looking around and seeing what our opportunities were in the wine community, the thing that always resonated with me, especially when we were out at tastings, was that there were not enough people that looked like me in the room, number one. But number two, that they were saying that they didn't necessarily feel that there was a space for them in my community. And that was something that really bothered me. And that was something that I was like, that's not true. So how can I help and how can I facilitate that? And then I have people, my friends and my family on the wine community side saying, well, I want to hire a more diverse team. I don't know where to look. So I know both sides. I like to say that I have the inside track, and I want to be able to make this connection. So when I decided to found Our Legacy Harvested, our big thing was fostering that community and creating the education for that. So being able to create that mentorship and be able to create that connection so that we now have this beautiful community happening and creating this ecosystem within our wine community. It's a really powerful tool that we can have, and being able to create that in Oregon, I think, makes it even stronger, because we have really set a name for ourselves of saying that we are a welcoming and inclusive place, so we can really set the standard for that here. And with Our Legacy Harvested, being able to provide that mentorship part and being able to foster that community while they're out at these different wineries, performing and really showing what they're capable of, I think it's a really unique opportunity. So I'm really excited to see what we're gonna do this year, because we have our inaugural program starting off this summer. We have our harvest interns coming out this year in August, and it's a 4-month program. And if you wanna learn more, come and see us at the booth. We are just getting started, and I can't wait to see what we're gonna do here.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Channing Frye, founder of Chosen Family Wines, and we're going to talk about the One Barrel Challenge. Basically, when I moved to Portland 15 years ago, I fell in love with the wine community. I fell in love with wine tasting, the culture of it. But and like everyone else is gonna say here, I just didn't see anybody like me there. And whether that was people who were taking care of the fields, people who were, serving the glasses. And over the time that I started to continually love it and grow in it and, go wine tasting and learn and meet new people, I wanted to give back. I feel like I have a responsibility to give back. The most joy that I feel when it comes to wine is sharing something that means something to me with people, to tell that story, to introduce them to different winemakers, different areas of the country, different varietals. If anybody knows me, it's what brings me joy now that basketball's, done, thank goodness. So for me, the One Barrel Challenge was that, and to be able to start that with my buddy here, Jake, and our CEO at Chosen Family was huge. And I'm gonna let him get into the technical part, but that was the short version of why we started it.
How's everyone doing today? Thanks for being here. Cheers. As Channing said, that we took the opportunity when we were launching Chosen Family and just what was going on in the world to put an eye on ourselves of how we could hold ourselves accountable and what change we could impact in the industry as a whole. And when you sit around having constructive conversations and deep conversations, sometimes you want to take those conversations and see the impact they can have in real life. So we were wondering how we could challenge ourselves, which is where it started, then challenge other people in the industry to give one barrel of wine that would transition into 300 unique bottles of wine and the revenue generated from that to give back to the industry as a whole. Now, it's a task that I think will grow, and it's a mechanism that I think is limitless, but we want to see what we can do by building community, holding ourselves accountable and holding the people around us accountable to give back and impact change, especially for people of color trying to get into this wine industry. Being his business partner, knowing the people on this stage and seeing where wine should be going and where it wants to go, we have to create opportunities, create platforms, and use our voice, the money that we can raise, and the opportunity we have to build bridges to each other to impact change. And I think to do that, we have to come up with ways to do so, and I think everyone on this panel has came up with a great passion point for them to impact change in the industry, and I think the One Barrel Challenge was our opportunity to challenge ourselves to take wine and then give back to the industry as a whole, and hopefully from here it will be the opportunity for other people to join us in that. And when you build community, I think one of the things that comes with it is holding each other responsible, and I think it was the starting point for a great conversation into the future of, if we want to see change, how do we do that? And for us, the starting point was to create something, a challenge for ourselves and the people around us to make wine and give back to the industry as a whole. So I hope that that's what we're going to see into the future.
Awesome. Channing's giving me side eye. That means it's my turn. Happy International Women's Day to everyone in the room. Here we go. Later, I will make all the men stand and do things for us. Okay, ladies, count on it. I'm Kimmy DuBose. I'm the executive director of the Roots Fund. We are an organization dedicated to communities of color getting education in wine, mentorship, and job placement. Our organization is only about 19 months old, fairly a baby. But I say, coming from the nonprofit sector, that we've done 5 years of work in 19 months. So super excited to be in this room today and seeing people who have partnered with us, who have helped us fundraise, who have offered us internship and job opportunities really means a lot. The Roots Fund really is super simple. I think we all share the same message, stating that we wanted to see rooms with more people that look like us. A big part of our mission is going out and making the world aware, particularly communities of color, of what they can do in wine. I tell people all the time there are transferable skills in every industry that correlate to the wine industry. This fall, we're starting out our high school program is launching nationwide, so we'll be going out to high school seniors, getting them involved in the industry, showing them the different ways to come into this community, as well as a college tour, particularly focused on HBCUs and Latin organizations around the country. So we'll be going around doing sessions about everything you can do in wine, having some great panelists. Hopefully everyone on this stage will join us on one of the tours, but super excited at really just giving them access, but a big part of our organization is providing support, because we can give all the access in the world, but if we don't give the people the tools to be successful, we're really just setting them up for failure. So keep that in mind. Super excited to be here today. I'm gonna pass it on to Sophia from one of my favorite orgs, Ahi Voy.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the Oregon Wine Symposium, the Oregon Wine Association, to invite us to talk about how we're making a change in the wine industry as we move in the needle for equity and inclusion and diversity. So thank you again, and happy International Women's Day to all the women here. So IVOY is a nonprofit organization, 503c1, that it was established formally in 2019. We started with a dream, an idea in 2011, among with my beloved friend Jesus Guillen, that he passed away, and Miguel Lopez, owner of Red Dirt Soils. And we were just talking about how to pay forward to our Hispanic community, but as a result, we could also help our Oregon wine community. So we established IVOY, and IVOY, the mission of IVOY is to strengthen the Oregon wine community by empowering our beautiful vineyard stewards. They are the stewards of our land. They are the ones that are growing our grapes. They are the ones that are touching every single vine in our industry. So they're the foundation of what we have, and that's why we're here. So we wanted to do something different, and we started with a program that gives back education and empower them through education. So they go to a 16-week program, and we partnership with Temecula, with Linfield, with OSU, enabled to create a wonderful program that goes from soil to glass. So they learn about what happens in the vineyard, but not just as an activity. We give them a purpose, and we explain them the whys and how the decisions that we make as a winemakers, as a business owners, that are important for us, that they understand what those decisions are important, because it's the result of the quality of the wine from that we have in Oregon. So it is very important to include them in our stories. It's very important to give them a sense of place, give them a sense of belonging, and a community that they're part of that bottle of wine, the story of a bottle of wine. So when they go to the program, they learned everything that happens, but with the whys in-house. We are very excited to announce that this year is our third cohort, or our third class, with 15 students joining this class. This is the third year. So we're very excited to announce that they come from 11 different wineries or vineyard companies in the Willamette Valley. And we couldn't do this without the support of all these winery and vineyard owners, that they're supporting the growth of their employees, their vineyard stewards. So we have 11 different companies that they encourage their vineyard stewards, and they send them to this program to learn more about and to get them included in the story of the wine and the Oregon wine. So we're very excited about that. When they go to the school and they step in Temecula, you see them kind of scared, kind of like, what are we doing here? But at the end, they come from, and they're completely different persons. They collaborate, they feel so happy, they feel so empowered, and then they can have conversations now with other people. So just imagine when they go to the classroom, and then they see other people like them, and they can share their experience, and they can share their knowledge, and they can learn from each other in a safe place, and when they feel the freedom to say what they think about what they're learning. So we're very appreciated about all the people that are helping us to as a partners. So we have lots of winery owners. I have a huge list on the website. You can go to ivororegon.org, in where you can see all this list of the supporters, the donors. And if you want to help us, please come to us to the booth. Again, it's booth 114, in where we're going to talk about that. Please, you can be a sponsor, you can be a donor. You can also call us and tell me that you guys want to have a field trip over there, so to welcome our Vineyard Stewards classes, and they can learn from you as well. You can be a tutor, an instructor, and you can just help us to improve this program. without the help also of the founders, the board founders, also Sam Parra that is here, Miguel Lopez, Juliana Guillen, following the legacy from Jesus Guillen. We have Diana Ornelas, we have Carly Tell, Lena Rodriguez, Cristina Gonzalez, Heidi Moore, Richard Smith, and Jessica Sandrock. We are doing all this work for our industry, so we're committed to bring everybody in the story, and thank you so much for all the support to your vineyard stewards. Thank you.
Well, so the big question is, how do we help them move the needle forward, you guys, in diversity? Who wants to start?
Go first? There you go. I just met Channing yesterday in real life, and he's everything we thought he would be. No, that's pretty good. How do we move the needle? You know, I think people call the office and reach out to us all the time and ask, and I think we waste time building plans, strategic plans. Half of you around the room are in the middle of a big DEI plan, but weirdly nothing has happened, nothing has moved. I think we need to focus on actionable change, doing things in small bits that can be effective for the long term and setting that out. I think that there's a lot of toxic culture, and some of it is kind of embedded into family legacy, thinking of how we may have kept a particular group out in our communities that, you know, we don't see reflected in our work. So I think it kind of starts there. You know, look at the people who you're working with. Have you given them career growth and opportunities? Have you gone out to their communities to find that next generation of people to kind of lead into the wine world, and not referring to them as workers? Or, you know, a big thing I love about Ahi Voy is really recognizing vineyard stewards. I love that. I constantly promote it as well. So looking at your hiring practices, educating your team, making that a constant thing that's ingrained in your everyday activity is really how change will be reflected over time. If you just do it for 30 minutes on LMS, it's really not effective. People half the time are just watching those videos play and they're not even sitting at their desks. I know I worked in corporate America for a long time. I used to do it all the time. I think that change needs to come from within and become an everyday practice to actually be effective. And that's really what's going to move the needle, my perspective, that is.
I think you said it brilliantly. That's something that I am always a big proponent of as well. Whenever we're talking about diversity, whenever we're talking about those actionable changes, I always hate to simplify it for folks, but it is easy as thinking about it as changing your diet, as training for a marathon. It's those little things. When you're running that marathon, there's gonna be days where you've strained a muscle, you're tired, you don't wanna do it. But when you've sprained that ankle, when you've had that little injury, you give it time to heal and you keep going. That's always the important thing. It's those actionable things that you're doing. And when you're changing that diet, it's the same thing. When you're looking to change something, you're doing the research and you're figuring out what tweaks need to be made in yourself to fix that and to change those new habits. And again, I hate to make it sound that simple because it's not always that easy, because you have to have certain uncomfortable conversations, absolutely, but that's where it starts. It's just looking at those little things and doing the research and looking at the culture of what's happening in your space and saying, what do I need to do for myself to make these actionable changes in my space, in my circle?
Yeah, I also think, and thank you, Kimmy, for mentioning about iVoice, moving the needle, trying to change the title of a farm worker, field worker to vineyard steward. So I ask you please to also use that word in your speeches when you talk to them, when you recognize them, because that gives them a little bit more proud in the work that they do. So we're changing a little bit of the needle too, as giving an opportunity, access to education, professional development, and to be included into the story of a bottle of wine. I mean, what winemaker doesn't want to have a quality grape, right? When they receive a grape that has the highest quality, is because somebody grew it. So we have to include everybody. So that's another thing that we're doing with this program, to include everybody that works from vineyard to business and distribution too. So this program is very broad, it's very short, but it really gives them the picture. And then having these panels, having these panels to have these conversations, open conversations without being afraid of what we said, because we have to be curious to move forward. We have to ask questions, and we have to work together and collaborate. And I think we're in the most beautiful wine industry. I was in corporate America too, and I'm so happy that I stopped doing that. I just joined the best wine industry. Of course, I love Mexico, the wine industry in Mexico, but I love to be part of this industry. And I think like little actions that we're doing right now, these are just few organizations that we have, but I think we need also to commit to do it. And if you get a chance also to get closer to all the people that work for you, maybe speak the language too of the people that works for you, just learn Spanish. If you have vineyard stewards, if that's your plant-based product, just do it. Just a little bit that you can just get closer and have a little bit of relationship. They're doing their part as well. So I think that's just little things that we can do just to move the needle into DEI.
I think the needle is being shifted as we speak, and I think one of the reasons that it's being shifted is because we're speaking about it. And I think when you start speaking about it, you can start speaking things into existence, finding the people that are truly trying to make change, understanding how you can help them in doing so, and not allowing that ball to stop rolling until change is actually done. And I think that we can, to create conversation, you got to be willing to have uncomfortable conversations. I think a lot of people want to see change happen. I've been asked a lot of times, well, what's the future and how does this happen 20 years from now? But I know that if we weren't having this conversation now, and if we weren't trying to do things to make the world a better place, make the industry a better place, it's not going to happen at all. So I think people that are actually putting their time, their energy, and their money where their mouth is a good place to start. I think creating bridges to people that are doing great work is another way to do it. And I think that we all inherently have to understand that this industry, this thing that we love, is for everyone. And it is solely our job to share that, teach that, and create the opportunities for people to join us in this passion-driven pursuit. We're all sitting up here saying we've had other jobs and we didn't like them as much as this. Regardless of what you look like, what language you speak, winning an NBA championship's all right, but look where it got you. Now you're sitting up here with your own wine label trying to make change. But for me, I just think that don't shy away from what you want to see happen, and don't ever forget that this is for everyone, and it's our jobs to not turn people off to wine, but turn people on to wine, and share with people that there's so many different facets, jobs, and experiences that we can provide for people across the board in our industry that are amazing opportunities, from storytelling to marketing to vineyard management to actual chemistry to science. This is an incredible pursuit, and there's a lot to be done in it, and I think we need to open the doors and yell from the mountaintops that anyone is welcome if they want to be here, and people are putting in the work to create the avenues to do so. So it's our job to build those bridges and support that. So to all of you, I appreciate all of you very much, and I can't wait to see what we get done.
I think my role in this is a little different, and I can't tell you, I travel to Atlanta once a week to work there, and I can't tell you how many people have stopped me. You know, kids who look like me go, hey, is the wine industry that fun? And I'm like, yeah, man, it's the best, like, blah, blah, blah. And because I grew up in Arizona, I didn't even know this was a possibility. So to have started my own wine brand, to be a part of this community, and to be on this panel is humbling, right? But it's my responsibility for my platform that I have, while I have it, to showcase all these things, to open doors for people, to open doors for kids who grow up all across this country that go, man, I really want to get into wine, but where do I do it? Well, hey, these mechanisms are here for you, so reach out. And I think that's where my role is different. My responsibility is to constantly be informed, to be a part of these things, and to use, and to hold my basketball brothers who love wine equally as responsible, right? I send a tweet or a text or an Instagram post and I reach 1 million people. How many more new winemakers, architects, vineyard stewards, whatever part of the wine industry you want to go to, it should be a possibility. And like you guys have said, it doesn't matter where you're from or what you look like or what your gender is. It's about the love of this industry, and the love and the passion of wine should be shared with everyone. So my responsibility of this, and I think everyone else's, is to put it out there and to get new people into this, regardless of all those things.
Yeah, and also a great growing trend that we've seen is how people are also starting to look for new faces to get into their tasting rooms, and I think that that's another important avenue to also be looking at. Always thinking outside of the box of where you're recruiting and how you're recruiting. So rather than looking through the same avenues of doing like winejobs.com and things like that and going through those typical avenues that we always have, going through different classifieds and going through different HBCUs and junior colleges and different programs that you can look through, that also opens up different doors as well. And I think that that's always an important thing, and it's been encouraging to have wineries reach out and say, I have been looking at these specific programs, I've been looking at these specific universities to see if anybody would be interested. Because for me, personally, even getting into music, I started as a classical singer before I got into wine. I did not know that I could go to school based off of a musical scholarship until somebody told me that. I did not know that that was a thing. I didn't know that that was an option for someone like me until someone explained that to me. So I think having those different avenues is very important, and always thinking outside the box of how you're recruiting your team, because we can't always teach hospitality, but we can teach wine. You know, and that's always another thing to think about, and showing people a different angle of where their careers can go and what the possibilities are.
Yeah, and one of the examples, for example, for iVoy, when we started this cohort, the third class, we were interviewing the students, and we noticed that there were students that they have, at least for this third class, we have students that they have 5 years of experience to 34 years of experience in the wine industry. So it's a very dynamic group that they can collaborate together, but we don't select them according to what experience they have to be a student. So it's open to all of them. And to me, it was, I was very surprised to see somebody that it's almost 50-something years old and has 34 years in the industry and experience, and he told me that he never had an opportunity like iVoy. So we really need to commit and to really look what else can we do as a business owners, as a vineyard owners, to change this, to welcome everybody, to give opportunities, to move forward. So then we can be richer, right? And we can attract more consumers from all around the world, and the name of Oregon is going to be everywhere because we are doing the right thing for everybody, not just for some. So.
Oh, we have
We're going to go to question.
Yeah.
I live? Oh, good morning. Thank you all for being here. This is really a terrific panel. I appreciate your time. I'm Paige Knudsen with Knudsen Vineyards in Dundee, Oregon, and I appreciate it very much you're talking about how to reach out to other networks. We learned this morning about the labor shortage that we are all experiencing in leisure and hospitality. And I wondered if you could give us very specific places that we could go more locally to find the networks that we want to, where we can find people of color to be able to train and integrate them into our businesses. Because I'm a white person, I know some black people, I know some people of color, but it is not where I live, unfortunately, in terms of kind of my sphere. And so I need some help in where to find people of color and how to attract them towards our job opportunities. Thanks.
I don't know that there's a perfect answer to that, but I think you're watching people that are actively bringing people into the industry of color day in and day out. I know that Taquet has a scholarship program that's going to bring 6 people of color into Oregon for a 4-month internship this summer. And I don't know if it's fully funded or not, so if there's people that have job opportunities and have a check to cut to make that come true, that exists. I also think that when you talk about moving the needle, why this is so important now is to one day you not have to ask that question, where the resumes that are hitting our door, where the people we're meeting, where the consumer base has shifted enough where it's just open game for everyone, and there's enough people of every walk of life that want to participate because they know they can do it. So I think as these funds build, as we keep putting our best foot forward, a lot of this will come our way. I don't know if there's just a hot pocket of go to this website and find someone of color to hire right now, but I think that we're trying to do the work where that comes across organically and that you're starting to see the workforce that wants to participate in this. We're doing outreach now, we're creating platforms now, we're trying to do the work so that in the future we don't have to ask those questions, and it's hopefully an organic experience of finding people from all walks of lives wanting to work for us or us being lucky enough to hire them. And I think when you talk about where the industry is trending, if we aren't aware of growing this thing into the future and making this for everyone, we're losing out on a huge foresight of growth. My uncle, who's a white guy that drives a certain car and wears a certain pair of shoes, shouldn't be the only target audience for us. Like, we need to make sure that anyone can fall in love with this, and so it's our job to tell these stories, reach these people, and sharing is caring. I think we're falling in love with something, so we're trying to share that with people and then create opportunities for people. So I think there's programs and there's people that are putting in that work. I think that anyone on this stage could be a good resource to ask those questions. I think some of these people could actually actively help you do so, but I think that the work that's getting done is hopefully so that the floodgates are open where those questions, it's not as hard to answer that question or know exactly, or you don't even have to ask it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's something that is a little bit of an oversight sometimes is we've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how do I attract them, where do I go? I always say your first step is look at community organizations outside of where you are, but could be in a closer vicinity. Same thing for me. This is my first time in Oregon today. I've already planned I'll be back at the end of the month, and me knocking on your door is like, it's vicious. Prepare yourselves. But for me, I had to do research. I thought about folks who partner with us and said, hey, do you have other wineries, vineyards that would be interested in our work? That's the same way you have to reverse that and be looking out for things like that. I tell people all the time, stop trying to create your own diversity programs. It's hard for you, someone that may not be familiar with culture and communities of color, to build a program and say it's focused for them when no one in the room is actually from that community. So you're not really going to be able to touch that base effectively. So partner with other organizations. Look at your local community colleges and college programs. They're very diverse, especially if you look into bigger cities. Those are great ways to market. That's really the secret to the sauce of what I do every day. It's not that I know everyone everywhere, it's that I do the extra work and go the extra mile to engage in community organizations, in schools, to make sure that people are aware of what our organization offers, what our resources are, and what they can be in the wine industry. So I think that's really the first step if you're really trying to aggressively get into the market. Spend less time trying to figure out your own thing, more time trying to partner. A lot of the great work that I do, I wanted to do something with Vineyard Stewards. I had this big thing in my mind, and I met Christina Gonzalez from Ahivoy, and it began a partnership with them. I'm already thinking to myself, we built scholarships last year, can we do something else similar to that this year? It's no need for me to do the work that Sophia's already doing, and doing it well, and it's proven. I can partner with her, and we can still do great things together. It's no need for me to reinvent my own programming. So I think that's the way we think about it organizationally. You need to think about it the same way. DEI should be a business tactic. If I told you tomorrow you couldn't sell wine, everyone in your company would band together to find the solution. So think about how to solve this problem quickly. If we thought about DEI with the same level of aggressiveness, think of how effective and more of moving the needle we would be with that same mindset.
We had the opportunity to have lunch together yesterday. One of the first questions you had when we got into a real conversation is there jobs here for people? If I brought kids here, if I brought people through our programs, where are we placing them? Is there the right people to take care of them? So I think the work's getting done. People have some resources and opportunities to bring people that are already wanting to join us in this task and have jobs to be given. I think that, again, the needle's being pushed and the conversation's being had so that we can all be learning as we speak that there are people of color, of these platforms that have people ready to work and are interested in our industry. I think it's about building these bridges and having these conversations so that we can figure it out and support the people that are really doing the work.
Well, also, I would think the people that we have now, the people that work for us now, we have to create a career path for all of them. So in that way, when they start seeing that the wine industry offers a career path, they're going to keep calling their friends. They're going to be talking about how Oregon is doing it. People in the vineyards are going to have also their career path, so they're going to bring second generations to work in the industry because they want to be like their dad or like their mom, right? Because they've been growing. Now they started as the first level, if you want to say, and then now they're supervisors, they're stewards, and so that brings me a little bit of pride too. So they're going to bring the second generation. So we have to create great opportunities for the people that we have right now, so we don't lose them. And then these people, they're going to bring more people into our industry. So that's very important about treating the people that we have right now well, give them opportunities, stay with us, and bring more people to our industry.
Yeah, but I would love to be that connecting resource. I don't know where you went to sit. There you are. Okay. Yeah, I would love to be that connecting resource for you because I think that is an important thing of getting you connected with the community. And again, that's part of why I started Our Legacy Harvested up here, was to be that connecting resource for people. So I always say, I want to be inconvenienced. I'll let you know when I can't be, but that is part of the beauty of it. I want to be able to provide that connection of where you can go to specifically recruit people, especially in this area. A big thing of why we started our BIPOC block parties during the summer was because we heard a lot of, we want to support BIPOC businesses, but we don't know where they are. So we gave them to you, and now we said, well, now you can't say you don't know who they are anymore. Go support them. So that's the whole thing. We want to continue doing that, and if we can continue to build that bridge for you, we will.
I got a good question for the panel. At least I thought I did. Kind of erased my mind for a second there. Any great pointers or tips for folks looking to educate about DEI in the workplace that you all have found effective when working with wineries, like any particular resources or programs or things that you keep in mind when you're starting to have those conversations with the wineries or thinking about your own businesses? Like, for instance, with Chosen, you folks work as a wine brand, but you partner with other places. Like, how do you go about, those kind of inclusivity conversations or, things that kind of arise on your mind about the industry?
Well, I think the one thing about Chosen is more important than the wine, we have to talk and conversate with the human. And I think the people we've had the opportunity to do business with and make wine with, I am more than happy with whatever product is out because I absolutely adore this person. And that we align in our ideas and ideals, but we hold each other accountable, whether that's Longolo, Hazelford, Granville, Salty Goats, right? And whoever else we work with, it's just kind of a thing that you can't work with me and then not do the extra, right? You can't, it just doesn't make sense, right? And I want to be able to use my platform to tell your story, but I have to be very real and authentic, so I can't tell your story if we're not aligned on what the wine industry should look like, especially our home. And so being able to work with, Jake obviously is the GM at Longolo, and for us to continue to grow that, and we work with people in Walla Walla, and Sonoma Coast, and Napa, and people want to do these things. And so, to be on this panel and to have these outlets has really been amazing for us, because I go, well, just go talk to the Roots, or go talk to Our Legacy Harvested. Like it's been amazing to educate them as best as I can while I have it.
I don't know that there's a perfect handbook for it, so I think sometimes your instincts as a human being have to come into play, and your ability to vet people in situations and then ask some critical questions. I think to Channing's point, we turned the screws on in a good way to some of those partners, and they participated in the One Barrel Challenge. And I think when we were in Walla Walla and Napa, we brought up what we think is a mechanism to hold people accountable, raise some money, and do some good in your backyard. So I think a lot of people were like, that's a great idea. We could do that here. So if I saw something like that happen, that'd be really cool. From like a hiring practices and like an internal standpoint from running a wine brand or a winery, I don't know that I have the exact answer for that. I think that's a great question. I think I think these conversations help. I think, again, holding yourself accountable, making sure that you talk to people and practice what you preach and how you treat human beings and how you run a brand and how you communicate what it is that you're trying to provide for people, especially in the hospitality space. I think one of the things we've been lucky enough to get feedback on is just making people comfortable regardless of who they are or where they come from. So I think it's constantly our job to bring people into our spaces and make them feel at home. So not only can they love that moment that you're giving them, but they can love wine and what hospitality and wine stands for. So I think if you're coaching your staff and if you're sharing information and you're finding the right resources and you're trying your best to do what you think's right for your businesses and the industry as a whole, you'll see that reflected in the people you surround yourself with. But I think that's a great question. I think we're trying to find a playbook that's shareable, but I think we're constantly building, in my opinion.
I have another question too. Sorry, guys. I have a question. Probably we are all facing labor shortages. I know myself with the Roots Fund, we have a job platform, post thousands of jobs. The request last year for Harvest went from like 20 positions to like 420 in a matter of days because we couldn't find people. So my question for Sophia, working so closely with vineyard stewards, what are the vineyard stewards saying about, why they're departing from the industry, or what would it take to retain them? I know you've focused heavily on career growth, but what other things are you hearing, or just your perspective on how we're starting to navigate through this labor shortage, bringing people back into the industry? I know a big part of that is value from my perspective, but I'd just love to hear your insight on that.
Yeah, I think when we started, it was difficult times when we were in difficult politics, well, we're still, but it was really hard for our vineyard stewards. They were afraid. They were trying to, they were trying to get out and work in a safe environment because they didn't feel safe in this country, unfortunately. So one of the things that we did is with iVoice to try them to give them a little bit more information about how much we value their work, right? And that they're the foundation of this industry. And getting closer to them and asking questions about, like if somebody was about to leave the industries because they didn't want to be exposed in the fields. So they rather to be in a restaurant behind the scenes. And the other ones is because they were offering them more money somewhere else. And they have families, so they need to feed their families because, they're low-income families, so they need more money. So when somebody comes in construction and then they ask them a better job, $28, $30 an hour, they're gonna take it because they're gonna look for their family. So that's why it's very important to find opportunities for them and to review how much they're paying, how much experience they have, how many years they've been working for you, what is the experience. Interview them, get closer to them. Try to find them, ask them how you see yourself in 5 years here in my company, because I want you to grow with me. So they're gonna feel better. They're going to feel more recognized, and they're going to feel that you really want them to grow with you. And believe me, Hispanic people, not because I'm not saying the other cultures are not, but we're very, very loyal to somebody that really cares about you. So I think there's lots of people that they're just leaving just because of those two issues, politics, also the money that they get paid, there's no opportunities. They feel that they're just field workers. They're just there. They just, do the hard work. So We just need to change that. But those are the two reasons that I think I heard about. And part of the program of iBoy is to give them also knowledge about tasting room, how to pour wine, how to describe the wine. So owners, they can invite them to be part of the tasting rooms too, sometimes for events maybe, and they can get more money, and they will explain and they will tell the story of what happens in the vineyard in that bottle of wine. So that will be in our advantage as a business owners. You can give a tour in Spanish and English. How beautiful is that? Because you're gonna bring consumers that they speak Spanish, and then they're gonna go to your tasting rooms because they know you provide English, Spanish, or maybe French, or maybe another language. I don't know, depending on the people that are working for you, what languages they speak. So we just have to be very creative. And in our program, we teach them about wine, we teach them about how to pour wine. They go to OWS certification level 1, so they get to know a little bit more about wines, and also they get their license, the OLCC license to pour wines as well. So you have their page, you have their how to promote them, at least for events, because I bet, the vineyard stores that are taking the program, they don't want to leave the vineyard. They love the vineyard. They love what they do, but they want to learn more about the vineyard. They want to learn the whys and the hows, the decisions that the business owners are making, and why are those important. But they want to learn more, and they want to participate with you. So you invite them into your tasting room, you invite them to an event to pour wine, you give them another source of income as well. So I don't know. Did I answer your question?
That was a great answer. Okay. Because everyone asks me that all the time, so it was great to hear it. I know we're trying to get towards wrapping up, and just wanted to take a moment, too, and just highlight Roots Fund scholarships are open now if you know anyone, communities of color that are looking to get into the wine industry, and we're here in Oregon this week. I'm here to make friends. I'll be back towards the end of the month because we're doing some enrichment trips this year, and the Roots Fund scholars are traveling the world, and we do these 7-day super wine immersion programs, so looking for more wineries to participate. I've got a few Burgundy friends here, but I need more friends than the Burgundy people. I want the Oregon people from Oregon. So super excited to connect with you, and thanks for having me, and figured everyone else in the panel could kind of highlight their big program. I definitely One Barrel Challenge. A couple people stopped me in the bathroom and asked me about it, and maybe they could highlight and tell a little bit about that and how you can uplift, and also to Ket's lovely program, Our Legacy Harvested. I can't wait to work with her on that, so maybe give a little bit of info on those and how people can connect. Hit it, Jacob, or to Ket. One of you.
So as I was saying earlier, for Our Legacy Harvested, our applications are currently open for our harvest interns, which we are so excited to be welcoming them this August. We are in the fundraising process as well for inviting those students and making sure that they have the best possible experience with us. So it is going to be a full rounded experience for them, and that's what we're the most excited for. They don't just have a mentorship experience with the winery that they are partnered with and that they will be working at, but we want to give them a full rounded experience of what Oregon has to offer as a whole. So we will be taking them to other wineries as well, but also providing them an educational component, and then also taking them on adventures and breaking bread with them and giving them community experiences so that they have the opportunity to build and foster community while they're here. So they want to come back and they want to work here. And so we've been telling everybody that's been applying, we're not promising you a job after this internship, but we are guaranteeing you the opportunity to work towards that. And that's the part that's so exciting, because they have the opportunity to network with everyone in this room. And that's what we want to be able to give to them, and we want to be able to give that to you as well, so everybody has that mutual connection that we can build.
The same iBoy in the DI booth, we have applications. If you guys want to take some and getting ready for the next cohort, next year, 2023. And if you want to donate some money, just go to iboyoregon.org and help us with that efforts. Thank you.
In the simplest sense, I would say there will be some people at the booth representing the One Barrel Challenge. Scott's here. If you wanted to give us any information, if you want to learn more about what we're up to, truth to be told, because of the fires, we were put in a unique position to ask people for a barrel of wine this vintage or from last vintage, and we didn't want it to be all rosé per se. So the One Barrel Challenge is in the midst of regrouping, bettering itself, getting through some legal stuff, but it's happening. It will happen again. It's growing. I think the impact is there. We want to transition to a 501c3 so we can make sure to raise money, be evergreen, and I think there's a lot of room for growth there and opportunity for people to participate. But if you are interested in what we're doing, and if you think you have a barrel of wine to participate in such a cause that we'll be giving back to people like this, by all means, and come by the booth, give us your information or ask questions, and we also got personal emails if you want to reach out to us. And any of these platforms, One Barrel Challenge has a website. There'd be an email that you can send to. So, and then I'm happy to get on a phone call with anyone or a dinner or whatever it be if someone thinks they can really help. So we're just all pushing for the future and continuing. I mean, honestly, I hope we all get to break bread after this too. But I know I've had great conversations with all these people, and it's watching the world open up again. I think a lot of these things were getting launched around the same time, but we didn't know each other. So it's been fun to kind of go, oh, shoot. There's a lot of like-minded energy happening here, so how can we not step on each other's toes, but empower each other and help all this really get done? And I know Taket's really working right now to fundraise and get these 6 people here to have jobs and paid for, so we're going to put some energy behind that as well. So there's a lot to be done, and I think we're all trying to put our best foot forward to do so. Was there any other questions? I didn't know if there was.
Questions. Get on up here. Don't be embarrassed. You know what else I think we think about? No one knows the right thing to say. I think that if you're in the room and you say the wrong thing and someone corrects you and you're able to learn from that and move forward, then you're good. I know that that's a kind of a finicky space sometimes, like what is the right thing? Saying nothing, though, is the wrong thing. So I'd rather you say something, it be wrong, you correct yourself. Now, if you keep doing it, there's a deeper problem. We can talk about that on the side. But, yeah, I know. But come on, any more questions? Anything else you're thinking about? Oh, we've got one in a hat. I love it.
I'm just curious how, Oregon stacks up compared to the other wine regions you've been working with here in the States as far as being open to what you guys are saying, open to the message. So, like when, I know, Mr. Fry, you mentioned you make wine down in Napa and Sonoma. Maybe you've worked up in Washington. Is Oregon, are we like way behind? Are we average? Are we ahead? How much work do you see us as an industry having to do to either keep up or catch up or whatever?
I don't know if I could give you the exact answer. I know how I felt in those places. Napa's different based on how much money I have, right? And that's just not fair in that situation because I'm different, right? And I'm quote unquote basketball famous, so they're going to treat me differently. But I know this in Oregon. Whenever I send my friends or family who look like me out to places in Oregon, they have become wine lovers. They have had the greatest experience of their life, and now that is not always replicated everywhere that we go, right? I've had good times in these places, but how I feel as a black man in this industry, I have been welcomed by everyone. I have been educated by a lot of people. The love and the warmth and these conversations are welcomed. And like, how can we help? What do we need to do? So the enthusiasm of Oregon is 1,000%. Being able to implement the enthusiasm is why we have these things, and again, the mechanisms of how you can help. We're giving the information, or we're creating things to help you. Obviously the One Barrel Challenge. We're a tiny, tiny wine label, and we made sure that that one barrel hurts sometimes, but it's worth it. In the long run, it's worth it because of what the effect is going to be for the long run and who we're affecting it for, and being able to work with these powerful women and to make change in this industry has been amazing. So, go ahead.
I would just say getting to live this alongside him a little bit. I don't want to say Oregon's behind. I don't want to say that we're anywhere that we shouldn't be, but the reality is if you look around, it is what it is. So I think, but that's no different than Walla Walla, Napa, Sonoma. I think that people really are saying they want to help and that change is happening. It's just, what does that mean? And if you look at the 3 of the 4 causes on this table, they come from Oregon. So I don't think that the work isn't getting done, the conversations aren't being had. I just think that we got a lot to do. So I think that the time is now for these things to be springboarded into the future and for it to never stop. I think that it's just time to go, it's time to work, and it's time to look towards the future and who is putting in the work and how can we help them. Because I think the industry as a whole is what we're talking about. We can talk about how many black owners there are in wine, and how many African Americans or people of color own wine labels, how many people have jobs. It's not a lot. So when you learn these things, you go, well, that doesn't seem right, so how do we help that? And so I wouldn't put the microphone, or the magnet.
Too much coffee. That's all right.
I wouldn't flash a shining light on Oregon to say that we're doing anything specifically wrong compared to other places in this country, but I think that we're trying to do the work so that changes and we're at the forefront of making the positive change.
Yeah. Well, we've got another question.
We have another. Do we have time, Jessica? Yeah.
We have time. Don't worry.
Hi, thank you.
We started late.
I'm Bill Spratt. My wife and I own Winderley Vineyard Winery. I am oddly behind this stand here, which is
I got
visually
you.
weird. And I was on the panel this morning for hiring, recruiting, retention. So I'm wondering if I could just point out the low-hanging fruit in the room. This morning, we had an industry desperate to hire people, and you all are working to help people find jobs, and all those jobs are on winejobs.com. So I can spend a lot of time cultivating HBCUs, and I'm happy to do that, but that's going to take me years. The jobs today are on winejobs.com, and if we can make a connection there, we have hundreds of jobs, thousands of jobs in this industry that can be filled. We can do the cultivation work, and that will bear fruit down the road, but it's not going to bear fruit today. Anyway, that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, let me see. How do I want to say this? I'm just going to say it. Same way you send in a list to Wine Jobs is the same way you can send a list to our orgs to post jobs. It's not as hard. If we spend less time thinking about how much more time it's going to take versus just doing it, then it'll never get done. I just say that to say that we're going to do as much as we want to do to really move forward, to really be able to create a space for people of color to really come in the industry. So the same way, I'll say it again, that you can post jobs there. It's a process. I love Eric. They're a partner of ours, Wine Business Monthly. I've been featured. Thank you. But at the same time, wineries and other programs definitely send us their list of positions that are open. Like the form on our website takes about 5 minutes, and we help post it. I think that Eric and I have had long conversations about how to connect that Wine Jobs as well as the work that we're doing. So I think that we're working on it, but while we're working on it, we're still actively doing things to make sure that we can promote and elevate and get those positions out to communities of color through different organizations that we work with and we partner with to make sure that they have access to the opportunities. So I think we can do as much as we're able,
And I think it's also a two-edged sword with that, because with that, winejobs.com is great. I mean, I have found countless jobs, I've put countless offers on there, and I think it's a great resource. But then there's also, you have to look at the other side where there are folks that have never even touched the wine industry, looked at it. So we're trying to build that bridge and letting them know that this is a space for them to apply to. And they will say if they don't have any experience, if I apply for that job, there's not even an opportunity for me there. So we want to slowly build that confidence for them, and it takes time. And the only way that we're going to do that is by going through other platforms to begin and easing them into that. And it's one step at a time. That's why we call it the marathon.
Also, I think that will, to do a little bit helpful, I think we need to, in our websites, we need to be giving our message a little bit more inclusive for everybody. As well, media. If you guys have connections with media, also talk about the organizations that are doing the work and collaborate each other with these messages, because that will attract more people and they will feel more comfortable to go and get an interview, right? Even if they're people of color, black people, or somebody from outside of Oregon to come here, because they're gonna feel like Oregon is doing that work, and they will feel comfortable to come and apply for a job here. So we really need to look into our messages as a wine business owners and show people that this is an inclusive environment and diverse. Yeah.
All right, I think they're coming up.
Thank you.
And by the way, I travel all around the country, going to different regions, and I know sometimes we put Napa at the top of the grill. I know this is being recorded. Hello, Napa, I love you. I think for so long we've been comparing what we're doing in the industry. I'm so excited to come to Oregon because I have an affinity for Burgundy Pinot. And when Dominique Lafon and I sat last, he said, "You've got to go to Oregon, Kimmy. You want to live there. You love when you come to Burgundy, but you can't live here. You should go to Oregon and live there." So that to me says volumes about what the world really thinks about what you're doing here. I think what makes other regions special, like when I go to Lodi, when I go to Paso, when I go to Finger Lakes, it's the community love. And our scholars feel that. And they'll tell you those are their best trips. No offense to Napa, they're like number 5 on the list. But like Lodi's their favorite. They're already texting me, Kimmy, when are we going to Oregon? When are you going to have some trips there? When are we going to be able to go there and visit? And it's because they fall in love with the community. That's a big part of the wine industry. Don't lose focus on that. That's what's going to also help with moving the needle. If you give that welcoming embrace, people want to come here, work with you, drink with you, live in this place. So I think that's the differentiator.
Well, can we get a big round of applause for our panel today? Thank you, guys. You did awesome. I'm also going to do a moment of housekeeping. Can I say a quick thank you to our platinum sponsors, Tricor Braun and American National. Thank you guys for all that you do and for your support. We appreciate it. It is now time for our favorite part of the day, lunch. Yay! We're ready for lunch. So, as a reminder, you are welcome to explore Portland. Go find some great places to eat. We want to support our restaurants. We want to make sure that they are feeling the love today. But be back by 2:30, okay? We want you to be back here. We have a mini session on trends in vineyard mechanization. We have presentations on our innovation stage, as well as those who have signed up or are interested in the staffing roundtable happening at 1:15. Remember to swing by there. But I will give you all a break. Thank you, and we will see you back here. Bye-bye.